Most people believe they are tired because life demands too much. They believe they are exhausted because they have tried too hard. But that is not the truth. The body does not collapse from effort alone. The nervous system collapses from reaction. Reaction is not action. Reaction is unconscious movement. It is the moment you leave yourself to adjust to something outside of you. Every time you react, you fragment. A part of you goes outward to manage perception. A part of you stays behind to hold tension. And over time, this division becomes exhaustion. This is why rest does not restore you. Sleep does not fix it. Vacation does not fix it. Because the source of depletion is not physical. It is internal displacement. The law of being begins here, not with manifestation, not with intention, but with understanding where energy actually leaks. Energy does not leave you when something happens. Energy leaves you when you react to what happens. Most people live in a constant state of micro-reaction. They react to tone. They react to silence. They react to uncertainty. They react to imagined futures. And they do not realize how much power is lost in these subtle movements. Reaction feels necessary. It feels responsible. It feels like control. But reaction is not control. Reaction is surrender disguised as movement. When you react, you allow external conditions to dictate your internal state. And the moment that happens, authority collapses. This is why people feel weak, even when they are capable. This is why intelligent people feel overwhelmed. This is why sensitive people burn out first. Not because they lack strength, but because they react more. The law of being is not about becoming stronger. It is about becoming less reactive. Most people misunderstand stillness. They think stillness means suppression. They think stillness means numbing. They think stillness means doing nothing. But stillness is not passive. Stillness is non-reactive awareness. Stillness is what remains when reaction ends. This is not something you force. You cannot try to be still. The moment you try, you are already reacting. Stillness appears when you stop interfering with what is already happening. Notice this. When something triggers you, there is a brief moment before the reaction, a fraction of a second where awareness is present without movement. That moment is your true power. Most people miss it. They rush past it into explanation, defense, emotion. But that moment is the doorway. The law of being teaches this. Do not chase outcomes. Do not correct reality. Remain with what is without commentary. This does not mean you allow harm. It means you do not collapse internally while responding externally. Response and reaction are not the same. Response comes from presence. Reaction comes from fear. Presence does not hurry. Presence does not justify. Presence does not explain itself. When you remain present, action becomes precise. Words become fewer. Movement becomes intentional. This is why non-reactive people appear calm under pressure, not because they are detached, but because they are not fragmented. Fragmentation is the real enemy, not failure, not uncertainty, not effort. Every reaction splits attention. Every split drains energy. The mind tries to convince you that reaction is necessary, that if you do not react, you will lose control. But control is not maintained through constant adjustment. Control emerges from coherence. Coherence means your inner state is not negotiating with the outer world. When coherence is present, others adjust to you. Situations soften. Conflict loses momentum. This is not mystical. It is neurological. A regulated nervous system creates a regulating field. People feel safer around you. Conversations slow down. Tension dissolves without being addressed. This is the quiet authority most people never access because they are too busy reacting. The law of being is simple, but it is not easy because reaction is addictive. Reaction gives the illusion of importance. It makes you feel involved. It makes you feel necessary. But involvement is not power. Power is the ability to remain centered while life moves. Most people are not exhausted because they are doing too much. They are exhausted because they are leaving themselves too often. Every time you explain yourself unnecessarily, you leave yourself. Every time you check for validation, you leave yourself. Every time you mentally rehearse outcomes, you leave yourself. Remaining is not a technique. It is the absence of these movements. When you stop explaining, energy returns. When you stop correcting, clarity returns. When you stop reacting, power returns. This is why silence often feels uncomfortable, because silence removes the habitual outlets of reaction. But if you stay with silence long enough, without filling it, without escaping it, something shifts. The body relaxes, the mind slows, and awareness stabilizes. This is the beginning of real alignment. Not alignment with goals, but alignment with yourself. The law of being does not promise that life will become easy. It promises that you will stop losing yourself inside it. And that alone changes everything. In the next part, you will understand why effort often backfires, why trying harder creates more resistance, and why reality begins to shift only when effort collapses into presence. Remain here. Do not analyze. Do not anticipate. Just stay. Most people believe that effort creates results. They believe if they try harder, things will eventually work. But effort is often the reason things resist. Effort is not strength. Effort is tension. Dependent. Effort appears when trust disappears. It is the body's response to uncertainty. When you do not trust reality, you push. When you push, you create friction, and friction creates delay. This is why manifestation fails for so many people. They want alignment, but they apply force. They want flow, but they tighten. Reality does not respond to pressure. It responds to coherence. Effort is an internal argument with the present moment. It says, "This should be different." And the moment you say that, you leave being. The law of being does not say, "Do nothing." It says, "Do not interfere." Interference is subtle. It is not always visible. It hides inside ambition, inside discipline, inside self-improvement. You can be productive and still misaligned. You can be busy and still disconnected. Effort feels like movement, but it is movement away from center. This is why people feel anxious even when they are doing everything right, because effort keeps the nervous system in a state of contraction. A contracted system cannot receive. It can only manage. Managing life is not the same as allowing life. When effort dominates, you begin to micromanage reality. You check signs, you monitor progress, you measure yourself constantly. This creates self-surveillance, and self-surveillance destroys presence. Presence cannot exist under constant observation. The moment you watch yourself too closely, you split. One part acts, one part judges, and judgment drains power. The law of being reveals something uncomfortable. Trying to control alignment is the fastest way to lose it. Alignment is not achieved, it is remembered. It is what happens when effort relaxes and awareness stabilizes. Notice this. When you stop trying to impress, to convince, to prove, something inside you softens. Breath deepens. Thoughts slow. The body returns to baseline. This is not coincidence. This is regulation. Effort keeps the system in sympathetic dominance. Remaining allows parasympathetic activation. In simple terms, effort prepares you to fight reality. Remaining allows reality to reorganize around you. This is why stillness feels risky, because effort feels like safety. Effort gives the illusion that you are in control. Remaining feels like surrender, but it is not surrender. It is authority without force. Authority does not rush. Authority does not chase. Authority does not explain itself. Effort speaks loudly. Authority is quiet. When you stop forcing outcomes, outcomes begin to approach you. Not because you asked, but because you stopped repelling them. Most people repel what they want without realizing it. They repel it through urgency, through desperation, through inner pressure. Reality mirrors internal states. A pressured state creates pressured outcomes. This is why deadlines collapse. This is why opportunities slip. This is why timing feels off. Timing is not external. Timing is coherence. When you are internally aligned, external events synchronize. When you are internally tense, everything feels delayed. The law of being does not require belief. It requires observation. Watch this in your own life. Notice how things unfold when you are relaxed. Notice how they resist when you are pushing. Effort tightens perception. Remaining widens it. In effort, you only see what you want. In remaining, you see what is possible. Possibility is invisible to a contracted mind. This is why solutions appear when you stop thinking, why clarity arrives when you stop searching. Thinking is not intelligence. Awareness is intelligence. Effort relies on thought. Remaining relies on perception. Perception is immediate. Thought is delayed. When you act from perception, action is accurate. When you act from thought, action is reactive. This is why effort often creates mistakes, not because you lack skill, but because perception was overridden. The mind says, do more. The body says, slow down. Most people listen to the mind and ignore the body. The body is not lazy. It is precise. When the body resists effort, it is not sabotaging you. It is protecting alignment. But effort ignores signals. Effort overrides intuition. Effort pushes past limits. This is why burnout happens even in meaningful work. Burnout is not caused by workload. It is caused by misalignment sustained over time. Remaining prevents burnout because it preserves coherence. You do not need to stop working. You need to stop forcing. Forcing is fear in motion. Fear says, if I don't act now, I will lose. Remaining says, what is mine does not require pursuit. This shift changes everything. When you remain, you move when movement is clean. You speak when words are necessary. You wait without anxiety. Waiting is not passive. Waiting is intelligent restraint. Most people cannot wait, because waiting exposes fear. But if you stay with waiting without reacting, fear dissolves. And what remains is clarity. Clarity does not shout. It does not rush. It simply knows. This is why decisions made from remaining feel effortless. They require no justification, no second guessing, no correction. Effort-based decisions need constant reinforcement. Remaining-based decisions stand on their own. This is how authority stabilizes. Authority is not dominance, it is inner consistency. When your inner state is no longer negotiating with fear, others feel it. People respond differently. Situations shift subtly. Resistance decreases. Not because you demanded it, but because coherence changes the field. The law of being is not about controlling reality. It is about becoming non-resistant to what is already moving toward you. Effort resists. Remaining receives. This is the paradox. To gain influence, you must release force. This does not mean you abandon goals. It means you stop gripping them. A loose grip allows movement. A tight grip creates stagnation. Life flows through openness, not pressure. If you feel stuck, ask yourself this: where am I forcing? Where am I tightening? Where am I not allowing? The answer is never external. It is always internal. Remaining is not something you do. It is something you stop doing. You stop interfering. You stop correcting. You stop bracing. And in that absence, alignment returns. Not as excitement, not as motivation, but as calm certainty. Certainty does not need evidence. It is self-contained. This is why truly aligned people are unshaken. They are not confident because things are going well. Things go well because they are unshaken. This is the reversal most people never experience. In the next part, you will understand how non-reaction and non-effort create authority. Why reality begins to organize itself around those who remain, and why silence becomes the most powerful position. Remain. At a certain point, remaining stops feeling like a practice. It becomes your default state. This is where authority begins. Not authority over others. Authority over self. Authority is what remains when reaction disappears. Most people believe authority comes from control, from certainty, from dominance. But true authority comes from non-reaction. When you do not react, you are no longer pulled. When you are no longer pulled, you are centered. And when you are centered, reality orbits you. This is not metaphor. This is regulation. A regulated system becomes a stabilizing force. People sense it immediately. They may not understand it, but they feel it. They slow down around you. They listen more carefully. They adjust without being told. Not because you demand respect, but because coherence commands attention. The law of being reaches its final expression here. The one who does not react sets the tone. Reaction is surrender. Remaining is leadership. Every time you react, you give away position. You allow something external to dictate your internal state. But when nothing moves you internally, nothing controls you externally. This is why stillness is threatening to unstable systems. Because stillness cannot be manipulated. Silence cannot be rushed. Presence cannot be coerced. Authority does not explain itself. It does not convince. It does not argue. It simply is. When you stop reacting, you stop leaking energy. Energy leakage is the hidden cost of emotional engagement. Defensiveness, justification, overthinking, self-correction. All of these are reactions. They fragment your power. Remaining gathers it back. This is why people feel stronger when they stop responding to everything. Not stronger as in aggressive, stronger as in grounded. Groundedness changes outcomes. Conversations end differently. Conflicts dissolve faster. Opportunities present themselves without chasing. This is not luck. This is alignment expressing itself. Reality responds to the one who is not negotiating with it. Negotiation implies doubt. Authority implies certainty. Certainty is not belief. It is absence of inner conflict. When you are no longer arguing with yourself, life stops arguing with you. This is the core realization. Most resistance in life is self-generated. Reality does not block you. Your reactions do. The moment you stop correcting the moment corrects itself. This is difficult for the mind to accept because the mind survives through interference. The mind wants to fix, to adjust, to optimize. But being does not optimize. Being stabilizes. And stability creates natural order. This is why things fall into place when you stop trying to place them. Relationships shift. Dynamics soften. Tension releases. Not because others changed, but because you stopped feeding the pattern. Patterns require participation. Reaction is participation. When participation ends, the pattern collapses. This is why silence is powerful. Silence is not absence. It is non-engagement. When you do not engage, you withdraw energy. And systems starve without energy. Drama needs attention. Conflict needs resistance. Chaos needs reaction. Remaining removes fuel. This is how reality reorganizes. Not dramatically, not instantly, but inevitably. Small shifts accumulate. People begin to respond instead of provoke. Situations resolve instead of escalate. Paths open without explanation. This is coherence at work. Coherence does not rush. It does not announce itself. It simply replaces friction. At this stage, you no longer ask, "Is this working?" Because the question itself belongs to effort. Remaining does not evaluate. It observes. Observation is neutral. Neutrality is powerful. When you are neutral, you are unhooked. Nothing can grab you without your consent. Consent is given through reaction. Remove reaction, and consent dissolves. This is why inner freedom feels so unfamiliar. Most people are addicted to reacting. They mistake intensity for aliveness. But aliveness is calm. Intensity is instability. Remaining brings you back to baseline aliveness. This is where intuition becomes reliable. Because intuition requires silence. Noise distorts signal. When reaction's quiet, signal strengthens. You begin to move precisely. Not fast, not slow, but exact. Exact movement requires no correction. This is mastery. Mastery is not effort refined. It is effort removed. At this point, you no longer ask, "What should I do?" You wait, and when action comes, it is obvious. Obvious actions do not produce anxiety. They feel inevitable. This is how reality cooperates. Not through force, but through resonance. Resonance occurs when inner and outer states match. Remaining aligns the inner, the outer follows. This is not spirituality, it is physics. Stable frequencies entrain unstable ones. Your nervous system sets the tempo. Others adjust unconsciously. Events align naturally. This is why the most powerful people appear calm. Not because they suppress emotion, but because they are not reactive. They feel fully, but they do not spill. Spilling is reaction. Feeling without reaction is presence. Presence is felt immediately. Yes, you have experienced this. You have felt someone enter a room and change the atmosphere without speaking. That is being. That is authority. And it cannot be faked. It emerges only when effort ends. This is the final lesson of the law of being. Reality does not respond to who you try to be. It responds to who you remain as. Remain calm, remain clear, remain unhooked, and watch how little needs to be done. Not because life stops moving, but because it finally moves with you. You do not chase, you do not resist, you do not correct. You remain. And in remaining, everything finds its place. Nothing forced, nothing rushed, nothing lost. Only alignment. Only coherence. Only being.